The jobs of 1,800 workers at the Ford car company in Melbourne could be on the line because one of its key component suppliers has stopped production. Car parts maker CMI Industries has been locked out of its factory in Melbourne's north in a dispute over unpaid rent. Well, Ford says it has enough parts to last until Thursday, but after that it'll have to start standing workers down. And meanwhile, unions are protesting outside Toyota's Altona plant in Melbourne over the way hundreds of employees there were sacked. Reporter Jeff Waters is there. So Jeff, we'll talk about Ford in just a moment, but what exactly is the Toyota protest about?
Well, last week about 300 Toyota workers were made forcibly redundant here, Ros, and this is a multi-union, if you like, protest just to draw attention to the manner in which those people were made redundant. They're not arguing that those redundancies shouldn't have taken place. It's just that the workers were scored in a number of areas on their performance and told that they were the bottom of the group and so they'd be made redundant, and the unions are taking issue with that. They're also taking issue with what they say is the fact that a number of union organisers and safety organisers were targeted, and so they've launched a legal action this morning in the federal court. That's due to be heard on Thursday. They're seeking the urgent reinstatement of those workers. They're also seeking compensation for them and penalties against Toyota because they say that the targeting of these unionists was unlawful.
And across town, Jeff, hundreds of workers at Ford could be temporarily stood down by the end of the week. What are unions saying about that?
Well, of course, they're very worried about that as well. They're worried about both the state of the parts supplier, CMI, and whether the workers there, the hundreds of workers there, will continue working. But also, of course, the Ford says that by Thursday, if it doesn't get these parts supplied, it'll have to start standing down its workforce as well. It's a very long supply chain, and it involves a number of companies. CMI supplied 23 parts to Ford, but there are other suppliers that will be affected as well if this goes ahead. A little earlier, one of my colleagues, ABC Stephanie March, spoke to the Victorian State Secretary of the AMWU, Steve Dargavel, and he explained just how widespread the problem might become.
Clearly we can't make parts without suspension parts in the car, and we're talking to Ford, of course, about minimising the impact on the direct Ford workers. But of course there are many thousands of workers throughout Victoria that make parts for Ford. They'll also be potentially impacted, so the problem in the supply chain is that we may see a ripple effect throughout the supply chain where many more workers are affected by this if it's not sorted very quickly.
So, Jeff, what efforts are being made to resolve the problems at the car parts maker CMI and get things back on track? Briefly.
Well, there are talks ongoing at the moment involving the state government and others. Ford is under the impression that there will be good news on this story later today and the situation will be resolved, Ros.
All right, Jeff, thank you.
Thank you.